Hey y'all, it's Gypsy. I am coming to you today to talk to you about shift changes. While that sounds boring on the surface, let me say something else. I'm not talking about your job. I am talking about major, life changing shift times, also known in my world as it's tower time. Tower time to me means that it is time for everything that you have all set up and all of your expectations. You have them set up on the table, okay? Like a checkerboard, a chessboard, if you will. Now, take your right arm and go, whoo. That, my friends, is what happens during tower time. Mm-hmm. So, how to cope with tower time? Well, in my case, I've just started. I've just started making words that don't exist. I have decided to start reading more into Buddhism. I have been very fascinated with it as a philosophy for a while. And so I started reading more into it recently. Well, you know what? Actually, I read Buddhist Boot Camp probably about a year and a half ago. I kind of started reading it before, but then I actually read it. And while I was reading that, there were some things that some seeds were planted. We'll put it that way. And over the last year, I've been very observant of certain situations, things in my life, the way that things are kind of panning out. And, I really had to ask myself some hard questions. And the answers that I came up with were really hard to deal with as well. But I finally, through a series of events, came to a realization that things just weren't working the way they were anymore. It was time to change. Now, those of you who've been watching my channel for a little bit, y'all know that I, recently started teaching. I'm a teacher now, which is kind of part of the reason why I've disappeared from YouTube for a little bit, because for two reasons. One, time constraints, grading papers and things like that. I'm an English teacher, so all I do is read stuff. And the second thing is I'm just a little bit got to be careful because you never know, students on the internet, on the interwebs. I know some of you guys have found me out here. So I don't know, I kind of shied back a little bit because I didn't want to be judged too harshly for, being kind of out there and also being an educator and, influencing. But I do not bring my spiritual stuff into my classroom. That's just irresponsible. I would never do that. So I think I've gotten a little more comfortable now. I'm cool. So anyway, back to what I was saying. So due to, I guess, some of the realizations and thought processes that were kind of, brought about thanks to my, reading into the Buddhist kind of perspective, a lot of it made sense. And I started to realize, I think I've kind of been of Buddhist mind for some time now, and I did not realize it. Some of the realizations and ways that I look at things and my inability to, do deity and, really get into that, it's okay now, because in Buddhist religion there is no God, so to speak. So that's refreshing. And so anyway, so I've been kind of dealing with that. So like I said, this has been kind of a slow process. My tower has been crumbling brick by brick, over a series of time. I guess, about a year ago, maybe, a couple shingles blew off, and there's been a little crack in the floor. There's been some things here and there. Lights are flickering. But about 2 months ago, shit got real. My tower just blew the fuck up. It just, everything just, So, at the present moment, I am actually staying at a friend's house. Right now, I'm house sitting for a friend who lives in a really cool, sweet house. And I'm just basically living on couches until I get my apartment. Because the relationship that I was in it was not a good relationship. The cards, so to speak, were stacked against us from day one. And we defiantly pushed forward, for the sake of the child involved. And now that the child is approaching an age where she can go, what are y'all doing? Are y'all even doing this? That's where I get to go, baby girl, I don't even know. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and start stepping. And so that's kind of what's going on. I just, I woke up one day and, well, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like I woke up one day. I heard a series of words come out of someone's mouth, and I went, no, I'm sorry, that's not going to work for me. And that was that. Yeah, that was that. And folks, it's honestly, it's one of those things where you can just sit and keep doing the same things that you've always done because it's comfortable, and the thought of doing something different is scarier than the thought of just repeating a behavior over and over and over again. But I'll tell you something, man, if you can just jump out there, sometimes that is just, it is the scariest, most unsettling, and in some ways, in my situation, disheartening, because it's like, you got to start all over. There's so many things that I have to walk away from and just let go of. But at the same time, as I'm walking away, I'm looking ahead of myself, and that's something that I've learned through these Buddhist teachings that I've been looking at is it is an exercise in futility. No, that's not the right word. That's not what I meant. It is, it takes dedication to your goal. You can't give up when it gets hard, and you can't focus on, well, what if, if only, hey, you know what? No, not if only, because that's not what it is. So don't waste thought on that. Well, if I had just, but you didn't. So you don't do that to yourself. Why? And it's funny because while I'm going through this shift, there's a lot of other people in my life around me that are going through similar shifts. It's like everybody's world is kind of turning upside down right now. People in my family, my children, again, those of y'all that watch me, I have 3 daughters. One lives overseas. The other one's about to go overseas here in a couple weeks. And, so her life is changing. And my youngest one, who's staying home with me, her life is changing. She doesn't have her sisters with her anymore. It sucks. And, she's going to be with single mom. Also sucks. But, I'm not that bad. But, so there's a lot of things going on. And again, like I said, there's other people, other friends of mine, other family members. It's like there's this huge shift going on right now. And I've had the same conversation that I've kind of had with myself and kind of just talking in my own head to the voices. I've been talking to, other people that I'm close to that are going through similar issues. And it's, and I've been reminding them, hey, you know what? Look forward. Do not look back. You cannot move forward effectively if you keep looking behind you all the time. So live in the moment. What do you have now? What do you have? Focus on what little pieces do you have. This is where you go into magician mode. Okay, find your resources. Gather your stuff. What do you have? Okay, I don't have a lot of stuff. I don't have a lot of money. I have friends. I have a lot of friends, and so they've kind of rallied around me in the, recent weeks. It's like everybody's like, hey, what do you need? You know what? Hey, come stay at my house. Hey, I'm going to go on vacation. I'm not even going to be in town. You want my house? Yeah. And so it's been kind of nice. And honestly, it's been kind of cool because I've really been able to see, I've got some really good friends. And it's not often that we all kind of get to show each other what good friends we are until something like this comes along where one of us needs the other one, and we have the opportunity to be like, hell yeah, and so it's like it makes me eager to like do things for my friends because they've all been so awesome to me. Again, another positive that's come out of a situation that started out really sucked balls, and so now things are kind of looking up. I have a lot to look forward to, and I'm really kind of optimistic about the future. I'm going to have to make some lifestyle changes. Things are going to be a little different here and there. But again, it's nothing I can't work around. And, nothing is permanent. And for some people that might be like, what? I need to know what's it. It's just, here's the thing though. No matter how permanent it feels, nothing is permanent. I'm not permanent. Nothing's permanent. Things will change on you eventually. And one way or another, they're going to change. So go with it. Figure out what you need to do to make that okay for you. Real quick, totally going off on another tangent here, but having to do with the tower. So, basically I'm accepting the fact that I am in tower time right now. I have There were a series of events that led to a series of decisions, and they've been made, and things are moving forward, and the world keeps turning. And it it was funny because whenever I recently tried to start getting back into tarot and reading tarot, and because I took a break for a while and I was doing oracle cards for a little bit, and I'm missing my tarot, and so I'm getting back into it. And the other day I took my Tarot of Sweet Twilight that I had bought in New Orleans a couple years ago, and I put it in order to kind of, that was my way of resetting the deck. It's like, look, it's been a long time, buddy. We haven't really, hung out like we should have, and I'm just gonna put the reset button on, and then we're gonna start shuffling and doing our thing. And so as I was straightening out the cards, I came across the Tower card, and I was like, oh, Tower, there you are, little buddy. How you doing? And I was sitting there looking at it, and as I was doing that, I realized, where is my deck? Oh. It was bad when you can't find your own deck. But let's see, where was it? Okay, so, yeah, Death, Temperance, Devil, Tower. There it is. Okay, so Tower card. All right, here we go. So I was looking, and if, for anybody that's ever read, I know when I did my Tarot of Art, or my Art of Tarot series, I referred a lot to 78 Degrees of Wisdom by Rachel Pollack. And in there, she talks about the Fool's Journey. And a lot of people who have studied tarot, read books on tarot, you will have heard of the Fool's Journey. And, it's like it kind of takes you through the major arcana. And as I was looking at that and lining all these up, I realized that it's like this progression. And I'll say that my progression kind of started with arguably the Wheel is where I first kind of noticed this kind of stuff was happening. At the beginning of the year, I was definitely in Wheel time. And then, let's see, at the end of January, I broke my arm. I broke my wrist. And so I had to be very dependent on a lot of people, namely my significant other. And it was a rough time. And so I would argue that, strength came into it because I really had to, how do I say it? Tiptoe around being an imposition, or feeling like an imposition, being made to feel like an imposition. I'm getting shitty, but you know what I'm saying. And so it was very uncomfortable, kind of the way that I was perceiving it. I felt very uncomfortable. I felt very uncomfortable asking for help. I felt guilty asking for help. It was stupid. I broke my wrist roller skating. I shouldn't feel that bad about it. It's like shit happens, right? And so anyway, strength played a part because I had to figure out very carefully how to kind of manage myself and still get things done and enlist that help that I needed in order to get those things done without it always turning into like this fight. And so it was kind of like psychological strength. And then I looked and I'm like, oh, we have the Hanged Man. Oh, me down. Hanged Man, contemplative. Yes, I spent a lot of time laid up thinking about things, thinking about my feelings about things, thinking about how I wanted to approach things going forward, thinking about changes that were going to need to happen in order for me to feel better about everything, about my life, about where I was in my life, about my relationships with other people, my relationships with children, obviously the relationship that I was in. My eyes start to lose control when I get frustrated. Have you noticed that yet? And so definitely there was a hangman period where I just, really did a lot of going into myself and considering everything. And then we moved to death. And I would say death came for me in probably April, May. It was May. May is when death came. It's time to let go. It's time to just let go of things. And that is when it's like a little piece of my heart kind of died, I guess you could say. And I had to kind of just let go. I had to let it die. I had to just stop. And that was a real hard realization for me, because there was a lot of time put into the feelings that I had, a lot of fighting in order to maintain the relationship that I was in. And it was something that, I had taken on as kind of like just part of how it was. I don't know that I would go so far as say it was like part of my identity. Okay. I have my own identity. I don't tie mine to anybody else's. But that situation, I guess, was kind of, it's part of, my toughness. It's like, yeah, I got this. It's life, it's whatever. And I just kind of had accepted that that's just how things were. And whenever I, took note of this feeling and I acknowledged death, it kind of like with dying, it's like you just let yourself just exhale and go with it. And that's kind of what I did. I mean, that's kind of what happened. And with the good out with the bad, right? So then I found, okay, and I encountered the need for temperance, which was the next card. And temperance being that balance, finding that balance, figuring out, okay, now things I've let go, I have shed, I have, let go of the bad, I've let go of these things, and now I need to find a new balance. Because, whenever when you're, take, for example, looking at a scale, looking at a balance, okay? You've got a whole bunch of stuff over here, you let it go, now the scales aren't even anymore. You got to even things out. You have to make adjustments in your life. And that's, that's kind of been, that was kind of something that I definitely had to keep in mind, and I had to figure out and weigh, my options and weigh how I was going to handle this and maintain a very delicate balance of civility and maturity and responsibility. I mean, there's still things that need to be done. When you're running a household with somebody and you're, doing things and taking kids here and there and doing, you got to maintain some sort of peace, especially if everybody in the you can't just pack your shit and leave all the time. It doesn't work like that, especially when you have children involved. And so there's this time period that's this lapse of, okay, well, we know things are going to change, but we're all still in the same place. So let's just try to get along. Let's everybody get along. And that's kind of where I was at for a little bit. But I feel like, we still have the devil to deal with. Yeah, there's a little bit of that in there too. Actually, though, I'm acting silly. In the past, when I have had serious conflicts, I'll just be very candid with you, I have sought out vices, all different kinds. Some destructive, some just flat out irresponsible, but vices. And honestly, this time I have been aware of that about myself, and I've kept it in check, and I have not let myself fall. I've been keeping that temperance in mind. I've not let myself fall too far one way or another, and it's made this transition a whole lot easier, which now brings me to the tower, which is kind of what's happened in the last couple of weeks. Like I said, there was that straw. There have been a lot of straws put on this camel's back, but there was this one particular straw about 2 weeks ago that was like, and snippity snap, 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 snap. That camel brat done got problem. And so now I'm in total tower time. Straight up, hardcore, tower, motherfucking time. And so I am, I'm totally up in the air. I'm literally up in the air. I am literally staying, last week I stayed with one friend, this week I'm staying with another friend, next week I'm staying with a different friend. It just so happens that it's summertime, so everybody's taking vacations and nobody's home, and so it's working out great because I'm a body in the house and their houses aren't empty, so it's been great. But seriously, it's one of those things where I could be down on myself, I could be depressed, I could be bummed out. I have an apartment, but I'm not moving in until I get back from Europe because I'm going to Europe in a couple weeks. So there's no point in like getting a new place until I get back. All these things. Again, one of my daughters is moving away. My other daughter is, starting junior high. It's like my life was changing already, and now it's like let's go ahead and supersize that. And that's what's going on. I'm totally at peace with it. I don't know right now, where I'm going to live September 1st, I have a couple of different apartments that I'm looking at. Nothing's nailed down. I have no idea. And you know what? It's okay. I'm not freaking out. I'm really not. I am enjoying the adventure. I don't see that there's any other way to look at it that would be helpful. And I guess that's what I wanted to share with you guys is, whether you get it through reading Buddhist text or, books on Buddhism, whether you are, doing whatever it is that makes you feel centered and, not in control. That's stupid. We're never in control. That makes you feel like you are on the right path, that makes you feel empowered, then do that. For me, it has been, finally getting myself to where I can meditate and sit still for a minute. I know, coming from me, she can sit still, believe it or not, I sure can. See, just did it. And so I'm coming around. I'm really, I'm embracing this. It is a time of uncertainty. I am officially in tower time, and I'm okay with it. I'm looking forward to the future. I'm kind of excited. It's kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like that first day of high school or something, where you're like, I don't know what to expect. I don't know what's going on. I'm like that right now, but I guess the gypsy part of me is just kind of like, I'm a survivor. Not even worried about it. I'll catch this. It's all good. Where's the whiskey at? No. But anyway, I just wanted to share that with you guys. If you have any questions or if there's something I'm kind of vague about or you want me to be more specific, please ask away. I would be happy to answer. It's just, it's kind of a thought that I had. It seems like everyone's going through a shift. So if you are finding that you are also in tower time, throw out some cards, say a prayer, sing a song, beat a drum, do whatever you need to do to find that relaxed space and let it all go. Let your stress go, let your insecurities go, the uncertainties, your anxieties, just let it go and just flow with it. Let yourself roll with the waves, and it is so much more enjoyable because change is going to happen. It's going to happen whether you want it to or not. Things will never ever stay the same for all the time. So figure out what it is you need to do in order to get over that hump and make that realization. Keep your perspective on the positive side, and it will serve you so much better. That's all I had to say. I just wanted to share that with you guys. I hope this video finds you well, and I will check in with you guys again later. Peace out.